What's up, guys? Well, whoops, took a screenshot. That's okay though. Now, we're back, and why else would I be in a deck screen unless we had a new deck analysis to do? So let's scoot our way over here. We have two new decks that just came out recently. Uh, Thank you, Toshiro, for telling me again. Um, we have Forest Fury and Dark Heavens, and this one looks more fun, so we're going to go ahead and start off with this one. So let's take a look. Terramorphic Expanses. Not bad. Crappy fetch lands, but they work. Basilisk Collar, Death Touch, Lifelink. Not bad. Let's see what else it does. Chain creatures you control. Chain creature gets +3/+3 at the beginning of your upkeep. Sack a creature. Dies. Put a 1/1 white spirit creature token flying on the battlefield. It's not bad for a 1/1. That'd be good with that. You could get in for 4, and I mean, I'd probably gonna take this out, but I just don't like killing your own creatures because I mean, you go down 2 cards. I mean, even if you have card advantage. So let's see. Black Sun Zenith. Put X-1/-1 counters on each creature. Shuffle Black Sun Zenith into its owner's library. Good. It's good. It's a board wipe. Flying 1/1 for 2. Probably not gonna stay in. Doomblade. Sign in Blood. Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. Now it is target player, so keep in mind that with this card that you can target your opponents. So if it's a long game and they only have 2 cards left in the library, you can sign and blood them and make them draw 2 and lose on their turn. Or if they have 2 life left, you can sign and blood them and kill them that way. Because it's always just terrible to lose to a draw card. Wall of Essence is dealt combat damage. You gain that much life. You're probably not going to get attacked into that. It doesn't have flying. But we'll see. Defender, Wall of Souls is dealt that much damage. It deals that much damage to target opponent. That's good. Because you can block big things with it that don't have trample. So it kind of prevents them from attacking. This one's just life gain. But I feel like this is better. Cadaver Imp. Enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. He's basically a Gravekeeper that flies that costs 1 less. And is much weaker. By 1, you know. Dusk Imp, flying 2/1. Pillory of the Sleepless. Enchant creature can't attack or block. Enchant creature at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life. That's good. That's a way to lock down. I mean, it only costs 3 mana. And it's a good way to lock down your opponent's creatures and punish them for putting them out. Souls the Faultless. Faultless. Okay. is dealt combat damage. You gain that much life, and attacking player loses that much life. That's better than those ones. I mean, it's the same thing, but I'm not really seeing the purpose of this deck yet. Annoying flyers and creatures that are just annoying, but there really aren't power cards like the last 2. Field of Souls, whenever a non-token creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. That's good. That's a good way to keep things like this alive. You play 3. So the deck is about letting your creatures die and then getting them back. 4 mana for a flying 1/5. I think this was from Prophecies, maybe? It looks familiar, and I had a few cards from Prophecies. That's right around when I started playing. Fallen Angel. Sacrifice a creature, gets bigger. Okay. There is the win condition. So let's go over something like this. You get this card out, and then you sacrifice this guy, and you get 2 creatures. You get 2 more creatures. So with this, you get 3 total sacks off of 1 creature. So that's +6/+3, so that makes her a 9/6 flyer. and that's with just the 1/1/1 out. So that it's a white-black token deck. Now I'm hoping like the Antuku Husk or something like that is in here, but we'll see. Obnixilis, you've got the lands that you can you got the fetch lands, the crappy fetch lands, but they are fetch lands. There's a battlefield under your control. You may have target player lose 3 life. If you do, put 3 counters on him. Not bad. I mean, he might stay in, he might not. You don't really have like when I think of him, I think of junk, which is green, black, white, and you actually have like ways to just be like, oh hey, I'm gonna play Obnixilis on turn 4. If you don't kill him, I'm gonna go Haro, Rampant Growth, or from grab fetch lands and everything else, and you're gonna lose the game next turn. Type combo with him, not necessarily the slow. Oh, I'm gonna deal you 6 damage because I actually have a Terramorphic Expanse. But Woebringer Demon, beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature. If the player can't sacrifice Woebringer Demon. So apparently, if the text wasn't obvious enough, that at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacks a creature, he's a creature. I mean, you have to sack him. it's not an option there. But the later text would allow you to assume it is. Deathless Angel. Very good card. I mean, in a format like this, where you can pay 2 and make a creature indestructible, that would make those walls a lot better. Sunblast Angel. Enters the battlefield, destroy all tapped creatures. That's really good. I mean, I really like that. That's another board wipe for you. Angel of Despair. Also the deck avatar, I guess, is what we'll call it. When Angel of Despair enters the battlefield, destroy target permanent. She's a little expensive, but she's a good card. I mean, she's a 5/5 for 7, and destroys a permanent. Head flying. Pestilence Demon deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. Probably not going to stay in. Maybe. Depends. I mean, right now you're playing 22 lands. You're not going to drop him on turn 8. You're probably going to drop him on turn 12. Just the way the mana curve looks right now. But let's go ahead and take a look at the deck and see how many cards we actually want in here. Whenever a creature you control is put into a graveyard for the battlefield, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. Not a chance. It's you got a lot of really big butt creatures, especially with these guys, but I feel like these are coming out because they really are just 1/5 flyers for 4 mana. It'd be cool if they die, but their 1/5s are not threatening. Your opponent's not going to be like, oh, I've got to get rid of that 1/5 right away, because when it dies, he gains 5 life. So they're going to be like, oh, I'll just let it stay. It's doing 1 damage to me a turn. Lightkeeper of Emeria enters the battlefield. You gain 2 life for each time it was kicked. It's not bad. Probably better than these. I would definitely be playing her over this because they are the same mana cost and she's a little bit bigger. And she has the nice multi-kicker ability, which lets her be much better late game. Midnight Haunting, put 2 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield. And once again, we are a token deck. You definitely want these in here. So these 3 so far. +2, -1. Yeah, those will replace the where are they? Bog Imps. With these ones, these are a lot better. They can get bigger if you want them to be, and if not, they're still scary. Voice of All is definitely in there, and I'm once again trying to keep the curve around where it's at. I would be taking out one of these. Actually, let's look at the curve, because I feel like there's a lot of 4 costs, but there's really not. It's just, okay. This is another pacifism, I believe. Enters the battlefield, you gain 4 life. Activated abilities can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. If enchanted permanent is a creature, it can't attack or block. So this is you can use this on a artifact. You can use this on an enchantment that has a tap ability. Anything that's not a triggered ability. The rack is a triggered ability. Trying to think what else in the game would be a triggered ability. Triggered ability is anything that doesn't have an activation cost, essentially. If something happens, like at the beginning of your upkeep, that's a triggered ability. So you don't want to use Faith Fetters on something like that. Baneslayer, Damnation, Acroma are all staples for black and white. I mean, you should be playing Acroma. That's your 8 mana cost creature, well over this guy. You obviously don't want to play that many. Go take him out, put Acroma in. Acroma, for those of you who don't know, flying first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, protection from black and red. What more do you need? You swing for 6 with flying first strike and trample. The turn that you play her. That's a lot better than that. He's a little bit bigger, but you get an extra attack. And this one doesn't hurt you or kill him. Because that's the last thing you want to do is pay 4 and then be like, oh, hey, by the way, a disfigure. And you lose your creature. Essence Drain deals 3 damage to target creature or player. You gain 3 life. For 5 mana, I feel like you have enough removal already that you really don't need Essence Drain. Dissolution Angel enters the battlefield, destroy all lands you control. If it was kicked, destroy all lands instead. Amazing. Amazing. That will be the replacement for Ob Nixilis. She's much bigger, she's much more threatening, and yeah. Vindicate? Oh, that is an awesome art for Vindicate. Vindicate's an Apocalypse card that had good art before. And good old Gerard Capuchin. But Vindicate's an amazing card. It's basically Maelstrom Pulse, except it doesn't multi-target. Haunted Angel. This is from Odyssey. Haunted Angel is put in the graveyard for the battlefield. Exile Haunted Angel, and each other player puts a 3/3 Black Angel creature token on the battlefield. This is obviously good if you're playing with people in Arch Enemy. You know, this is a good card to have on your team because when it dies, both your opponents or both your teammates get a 3/3 and your opponent gets a 3/3. So, you know, it helps level the field there. You know, you actually get the advantage on the card both times. Each player exiles all creature cards from his or her graveyard, then sacrifices all creatures he or she controls, then puts all cards he or she exiled that way onto the battlefield. That's amazing. Because when you start comboing with this, if you have a lot of creatures out and you have a Fallen Angel in your graveyard, you're just like, oh, hey, I'll sacrifice everything on the field, get a 1/1 for everything I sacrificed, and bring everything that died before that back into the game. It's amazing. This is a great card. Don't underestimate that. And Saison, Perverter of Truth. Beginning of each player's upkeep, that player loses 2 life and draws 2 cards. You gotta be careful with him. If your opponent is behind, you do not want to play him. If you are ahead in the game, you do not want to play him. If you are behind, I feel like is the best time to play him because, or if your opponent has really low life, and I mean even if there are cards ahead of you, because your opponent is going to draw the cards first, so you're giving your opponent 2 free cards. over you. Now, when it goes back to your turn, you're back to being even. So you're always going to be even with your opponent with him on the field. But he is a 6/5. He is a bit threatening. So let's see. I would probably add him. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 cards that I would add. So the normal sideboard worth of cards. So let's start here at the beginning. Terramorphic Expanses are strictly for mana fixing and for Ob Nixilis, but you really don't need them for Ob Nixilis. But we'll see if I can keep Ob Nixilis in here. So this is obviously one of the first cards I want to get rid of. So that's 1, 2, 3. Like I said, I don't like this one. I would take this one out. 4. I don't know. Maybe that one. These two, obviously. 4 and 5. There. 6, 7, 8, 9. 10, 11, and 12, 13, and then 14, 15 really doesn't matter. Probably something. Now, keep in mind, the reason I'm taking this guy out is it's each player sacrifices a creature. So cards like this don't help you. And the same thing with this, like exile and sacrifice, it doesn't help you there. So we need 2 more cards to take out. And it doesn't have to be in there. And you have a lot of removal already. Faith Fetters might be a little bit overkill. But with the way the decks are playing lately, I very well might actually take out Doomblade because it says non-black creature. And this deck has a lot of really threatening black creatures. Who else is? Sorin's has a lot of really threatening black creatures. Jace's is never going to let you target their creatures. So I feel like Faith Fetters might be a little bit of a better call, just because it has the more opportunities. It costs a little bit more, but you also gain life off of it. And it can target anything. You know, you can target lands with it if you absolutely have to gain 4 life. So maybe cut down one of these and probably not bring in the Sizen. But I mean, it's kind of your call with it. I like Sizen. I'd probably try and work him into the deck. And when I get a chance to actually play with the new decks, I haven't even played with the other ones yet. So, but I'd probably try and work him in there. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next new one. Forest Fury. Primal Bellows is +1/+1 for each forest you control. It's amazing. Rancor, +2/+0, has trample, enters battlefield, or put into the graveyard from the battlefield. Return Rancor to its owner's hand. Treefolk Harbinger, it's a Treefolk deck. Search your library for a Treefolk or a forest card, reveal it and put it into your hand. Or put it on top of your library. Shuffle your library and put it on top, but you don't have to do that with the game. Treefolk spells and shaman spells cost 1 less to play. Nature's Lore. Search your library for a forest card and put that card on the battlefield and then shuffle your library. So Crazy Mana Excel, what are we ramping into? Battle Wand Oaks. Forest enters the battlefield under your control. Gets +2/+0. +2 until end of turn. Treefolk spell +2/+0. Beast Within. Very good removal card. Dungrove Elder. Hexproof. Power and toughness equal number of forests you control. He's amazing. because obviously in a mono green deck he's going to be a 3/3 for 3 that can't be targeted, and is going to get bigger every turn that you play land. Heartwood Storyteller. Whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, each of that player's opponents may draw a card. Okay, so we've got like almost all creature spells, so that works out really good for us. Ambassador Oak enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 green elf warrior token onto the battlefield. Cloud Crown Oak, reach. Dauntless Doorbark, equal number of forests plus the number of tree folk you control, has trample as long as you control another tree folk. Overrun, because why not? Make big trees even bigger and scarier. Root Grapple, destroy target non-creature permanent. If you control a tree folk, draw a card. Weather Seed Tree Folk is put into the graveyard from the battlefield. Return to its owner's hand. Did I read that right? It's a 5/3 for 5 trample that says when Weather Seed Tree Folk is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return it to its owner's hand. That's good. I love this card. I love this card. That was amazing back in the day. I had a opposition deck that played this and doubling the seasons or whatever it was to double the number of enchantments out that you could flash, or number of tokens out, and had flashback. So you could just go crazy with saplings. The game went on long enough, you had 400 creatures out. Of course, I was a terrible Magic player back then. Still not amazing, but, 5/7 for 7 Vigilance Trample, probably not going to stay in. So let's take a look at what we've got here, because this was really good. It's a solid mono green deck. This is what Garen's deck should have looked like. Kicker X, sapling creatures and other tree folk creatures get +1/+1. He's obviously going to be in the deck. He's probably going to replace one of those 7 cost. Enters the battlefield. If it was kicked, put X 1/1 sapling creature tokens on the battlefield. So he's obviously better than him. Brindle Boar. Probably not, actually. If you're having a problem with burn decks, maybe, but the nature of a tree folk deck is that it doesn't get hurt by burn decks. So I really don't think you need that. The nature of having the gigantic ass creatures that are just like, oh, hey, look, I'm a 1/3. I'm a 1/3. I'm a 0/3. Just kind of, I don't need to worry about little creatures getting in and burning me. Verdant Force, there's 2 of them. At the beginning of each upkeep, put a 1/1 green sapling creature token onto the battlefield. Now keep in mind that is your opponent's upkeep as well, so that's really good. He's an elemental though, he is not he costs 8 mana, and he is not a tree folk or a sapling. He puts out saplings, which are great blockers, and I might try and work those in. Like I said, we want to take these 2 out, so that's 3 cards. Gives us a little bit better of a high-end curve since we had all the early ramp, right? We had the Tree Folk Harbingers, we had the Nature's Lore, so a little bit of Mana Excel. Gaia's Embrace, +2 Blistering Trample, and has Regenerate. Probably worth playing. Plummet. Destroy target creature with flying. Maybe? You have the Beast Within main board. Right? Those are in here? Yeah. Destroy target permanent. I would not play Plummet. Just because I feel like Beast Within's better because it has more options. You can destroy enchantments, you can destroy whatever with it. Woodfall Primus enters the battlefield, destroy target non-creature permanent, and persist. That's the first time we're seeing persist. Persist is a very, very lovely mechanic that says when this creature dies, return if it has no -1/-1 counter on it, return it to the battlefield with a -1/-1 counter on it. So, first time he dies, he returns, or the first time he enters the battlefield, you destroy non-creature permanent. Second time he enters the battlefield, you destroy non-creature permanent. And you get a 5/5. So it's 2 creatures for the price of 8, which is worth it. You gotta make sure that you don't take out too much of your early game presence because you have to get to the late game with this deck. Beacon of Creation, put a 1/1 insect creature token onto the battlefield for each forest you control. Shuffle Beacon of Creation into its owner's library. Good enough, I would play it just because you're a mono green deck. Another Dauntless Doormark. Blunt the Assault. You gain 1 life for each creature on the battlefield. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. Probably not. You don't want to start taking out too many spells or too many creatures for spells if you're going to be playing these guys. Fresh Meat. Put a 3/3 green beast token on the battlefield for each creature in your graveyard put into your graveyard from the battlefield this turn. One of? Maybe. Once again, the reason I wouldn't like to do something like this is because you have the really big butt creatures. You're not going to have a lot of creatures dying in the same turn. However, if you know your opponent, and you know your opponent is going to be playing cards that have mass board wipe, like the last deck we looked at, and they're going to be like, oh, hey, Damnation, Black Sun Zenith, Sunblast Angel, anything that's mass board wipe that's going to remove everything, this could be a good card to have in your deck. I probably won't play it in mine because I don't know the people I play against. But like I said, if you're playing with a friend that's playing that deck or a deck that has more mass board wipe, you obviously want this in your deck. Lumberknot. It looked like a horse at first. It was like a horse-like thing. I don't know. It's just a giant tree mess that's about to eat the guy chopping wood. Hexproof. Whenever a creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on him. That's good. Copper Hoof of Vorak. Gets +1/+1. For each untapped permanent your opponent controls. Keep in mind that his lands as well. He's really good late game when your opponent can't be playing everything. I mean, I guess technically nowadays he's not as good as he used to be, because now there's no mana burn, so you can just kind of like, oh, I'm going to tap all my lands. I don't know if the game will let you tap all your lands just for the sake of tapping them so that Copperhoof Vorak doesn't kill you. That'd be a good question to find out. If someone knows the answer, let me know. Like, I don't know if there's a different mechanic when he's on the field, if you can just tap lands. But even in that case, you just have to assume that if your opponent has a lot of creatures out, he's just huge. But he doesn't have trample, so probably not going to play him unless, again, the game mechanics don't let you tap lands. Rite of Flourishing. Beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws a card. Each player may play an additional land on each of his or her turns. Now, I know I went through Garen's deck and said this card is awful. In this deck, it is much, 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 much better. Simply because you have so many things that affect the number of forests you control. So, or whenever you play a land, where's the other one? Whenever you play a land, or whenever a forest enters the battlefield under your control. So this gives you the opportunity to continually draw lands and make cards like this bigger and the cards like the pump card better. So yeah, highly recommend that. Multani Morrow Sorcerer. Shroud. So you can't target him, unfortunately. Power encompasses equal number of cards in all players' hands. If you're playing this, yeah. But I feel like he is definitely the arch enemy card. And this is an arch enemy card. That's why. You know, the last 3 cards you unlock are always arch enemy cards. Okay, so let's go ahead and look through and see what I want to add. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 cards total. So let's go through and find out what I don't like. We start here. These 2 are gone. These 2 are gone, so that's 4 of the 9. We need 5 more cards. Let's get rid of one of these. That'd be 4 more cards. These 3, even though there are 2 for 1s, they are just 3 3s. And 1 more card, maybe. Like I said, you know, this is just kind of an option. I think I'd only play 1 of them. So I feel like that would be the deck list there. And like I said, obviously you have all the great mana excel and everything else that you need. This is a really strong green deck. If you like playing green, this is the deck for you.